Today on the podcast, we have Cassandra Chase. Cassandra is running for the Lakewood City Council. That election takes place March 3rd, 2020. So whether you're watching it before the election or after, I hope you get something out of the conversation. Roll tape. Running for Lakewood City Council.
I am.
Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
How was the event last night?
Oh, it was great. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I think it was a really good opportunity to engage a newer business in the city.
Yeah.
And to do something fun. I think so many people.
Throw that right there for you.
There we go. Thank you. Have a great time. A lot of people celebrate Taco Tuesday every Tuesday.
Yep.
And so it was an opportunity for us to get out and do something we know we love and engage with community members.
And they're really fun over there.
They are.
Like Mel, we did their grand opening.
Nice.
With the chamber, and they're awesome. I really want to get them even more involved. So why don't you just kind of let people know a little bit more about yourself and just kind of like, what you're up to and who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Cassandra Chase.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm running for Lakewood City Council.
There you go.
I have to say that spiel was taught to me by Joe Esquivel, who was 25-year city council member. And as we continue to have conversations together, he's like, as you're in campaign season, that's how you introduce yourself every time.
Yep.
Cassandra Chase, you're running for Lakewood City Council.
That's
and I'm
right.
like, but that's great, but that's not all of me.
Yeah. For right now.
For right now, I guess until March 3rd.
Right.
But there's so much more to me, and I appreciate opportunities like this to have conversation, because I think conversation is how we learn about people, how we increase our understanding. So, I was born here in the city. I was born at Lakewood Regional Medical Center, and I would say that my Lakewood story, of course, starts before my birth. My parents moved here and bought their first home 40 years ago. And so I had the privilege of being born into the Lakewood community, which, as we know, is something special.
Yep.
And so growing up, I participated in the parks programs. I learned karate. I learned some Japanese. I learned foreign language. The list goes on, and had a really great time. And I think the time that I spent as a child really helped to develop me into the adult that I am now.
Yeah.
I went to school at St. Joseph High School, and St. Joseph is a very service-based school, and so had an opportunity to continue to serve and to be a part of the community through my work, or just being a high school student, right? And understanding that we as community members have a responsibility to serve and to step up when necessary. I went to college at UC Irvine, and although not far from Lakewood, it was an opportunity just to really dive into studying and learn more about myself. I think that's part of what college allows us to do, is to gain a deeper understanding about ourselves and about our studies. Mm-hmm. I studied sociology. I have a minor in education and public health. And at the time, I thought I was going to be a physician because I wanted to help people.
Are your parents in the medical field now?
My mom is a registered nurse.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, and my dad is a United Methodist minister.
Okay.
And so part of why I think I thought I wanted to be a physician growing up, I was really sick as a child.
Yeah.
In fact, my parents tell me that I think when I was a few weeks old, they took me to the local park, placed me in the grass, and I had like a major...
Oh, yeah. That happened to my brother, allergy to grass.
Yes,
yeah. It's bad.
When I was 10, I had like the allergy test, and basically my entire arm lit up. Like I was allergic to basically everything.
Yeah.
And so I was really sick as a child. I wouldn't say really sick, but I had moments of sickness.
Right.
I had severe asthma as well. And so I was in the doctor's office a lot.
Yeah.
And I think I saw firsthand like physicians helping people, helping me. And so I think I associated helping people with being a physician, and I know that they do, but I think there's
and with your dad being a man of service as well, right?
Service is part of my life. I grew up with service being really one of my core values.
And that leads into running for city council, right?
Absolutely does.
So
Absolutely
have you
does.
always been politically inclined?
I would say I've always been politically aware.
Okay.
I think one of the pieces of my youth is that my mom was the only voter in our family for a very long time. And so with 2 young children and my father in the home, she understood the responsibility that she had in her vote. And so every time there was an election, she would sit us down and have conversations sharing, like, these are the candidates on the ballot, these are the measures on the ballot, and what do you think about them? Because
cool.
I am the one who's voting on your behalf. And so from a really, really young age, I was super duper aware of the different things that were happening in our community. And even before I can vote, I was with my mom going to the polls, and just like kind of holding on to her purse. I used to hold on to her purse all the time, and watch her vote. And so as I grew up, I understood really clearly that our vote really matters, and I understood that everything is political.
Yeah.
And so as I continue to have conversations, some people are like, I am not political. But I'm like, everything's political.
Yeah. But usually when people say that, they really mean, I don't want to argue. Because politics, it's different. Like local politics, it's a much different conversation than regional, state, and federal. Like the bigger you get, the more you're talking about really nuanced concepts where there's a lot of room to disagree. There's also a lot of room to agree. But when it comes to local politics, the conversations look very different.
Yes.
And you can see change rather than just big, broad
concepts.
Yeah.
Right? Absolutely. And I think that's why I think local government and our local election is super important. I know many times it's often overlooked, and I understand. Sometimes people have shared, like, I didn't know the election was coming up. The list goes on.
Because you were Miss Lakewood, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I was Miss Greater Lakewood.
That's probably a lot of politics in that too, right?
I don't know about politics,
no?
But I would say about the pageant, it's led by the Lakewood JCs and has been led by the Lakewood JCs for many years. And the JCs, often referred to, or it was the junior chamber,
right?
Is a very service-based organization that focuses on leadership for young adults. And so for me to participate in the pageant, it's not a beauty pageant. It's really about a pageant of service.
Right. I think people know that.
Yeah, and I think people need to know that.
Yeah.
I think it is. Not I think it is. I know it is an opportunity for young women to really strengthen their leadership skills. And part of the pageant process, Debbie Esquivel and Karen Spilsbury, who direct the pageant, they teach us, what does your city council member do?
So what do they do?
Yeah, our city council governs our local community. I think they help us to really ensure that our community stays beautiful and that we are working together as neighbors. So they are the governing body of our 80,000 member city.
Is it 80,000? Somebody
80,000.
asked me that this morning, and I guessed 70, but it was a total guess. So I'm glad I got it.
It's about 80,000. About 80,000. Yeah.
And you are from the east side.
East side of Lakewood.
Yeah.
Which
very
I'm like,
underrepresented.
Why is it a thing?
It is.
It's
well, because
Lakewood,
it wasn't always Lakewood. I think that's why it's a thing, because I believe it was unincorporated for a long period of time.
I didn't know that.
And that's why it's kind of like it has a different feel.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that needs to be, progressed upon. And that's why the city council has talked about districting for a long time. Because you really, Lakewood's small enough where you could really justify not needing districts. Or, if we have, how many people are running? 5?
There's 6 people running.
And that's without districting. If we districted and you had to be from this, 1/5 of the area, the odds of getting, more people to run would be much less.
Yeah.
But there is a argument to be made that east side of Lakewood doesn't get the representation and arguably doesn't get the attention that other parts of Lakewood go. So I think there's something to be said about being from that area. That's a positive thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I've seen that firsthand and with my conversations with neighbors, people often feel as though we're the forgotten part of Lakewood.
Yeah, it's kind of like like the hybrid of like Hawaiian Gardens
and Cerritos, and like we're surrounded, right, by
Yeah.
every other city in that little corner.
Yeah.
But we are just as much part of Lakewood as any other part of Lakewood, you know. And so I think it is important that I am from that part of the city, and that there's an opportunity to have representation to ensure that all of Lakewood is represented on the city council.
And what do you do? So let's talk a little bit about your professional career. So what is it that you do? You run a nonprofit, right?
I do, yeah. So I might be like many millennials and do more than one thing, you know.
Yeah,
and
I'm one of them.
okay. Yeah, so I put my body of work into 3 buckets. I think it's best for me to keep a track of what I'm doing, and it's also easiest to share that way as well.
Yeah.
But I manage a civic engagement based nonprofit called the Empowerment Congress, which believes in educating, engaging, and empowering citizens to be engaged in the work of the community. And that organization has taught me so much. And the people of the organization have shared with me so much in terms of helping to shape who I am today, and I guess getting me to this point, you know, in terms of my leadership. I started off as a volunteer in the organization and joined the education committee because I have a education-based nonprofit, and education is something that I'm super passionate about. And so I served as a volunteer on the education committee, and then I helped to start the Emerging Civic Leaders Committee, which is a committee that focuses on engaging young professionals under the age of 40 who are doing good work throughout a variety of industries. And then about 3 years ago, I was asked to serve as a staff member, as one of 2 staff members for the organization, to ensure that the organization moves forward in the ways in which it needs to. But it is really a volunteer-led organization that has been around for 28 years. We have members who have been there for 28 years, which I think that's something to note. You know, I think when you have good leadership, people stick around, and when they feel valued and know that their voice is heard, they become active participants and lead the way.
Yeah.
So that's my day job, if you will.
Okay.
And then I also own a consulting business called Chase Consulting Group, where we focus on small business development and digital media marketing.
Cool.
And that work has been absolutely a thrill to do, to be able to help support people and their ideas, and to move the ideas from thoughts to actually monetize businesses. And so I've worked with a variety of companies across the board. I've worked with tourism boards, the list goes on. And it's been something fun. I think part of what I've been most excited about is getting very detailed and in terms of my work, and working in the spaces that I'm most passionate about. I believe I'm in that space where work doesn't feel like work. You know, it's just using my strengths to do something good. You know, so that's super exciting for me.
That is kind of the goal, right?
It is.
I mean, when it starts to feel like you're showing up for a paycheck or work, I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. So that's good.
Yeah, and I mean, it took a lot of time for me to figure it out, but I'm grateful that I have, you know, and I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to really have the space to think about it. I know it's a privilege to be able to do that. You know, I know some people just are not able to do it. You know, I've been in a space where I've had to work to make money, right? To keep a roof over my head, you know, and to be able to just take a step back. Again, I noted it as a privilege, and I'm grateful for it. The last thing that I do is that I co-founded an education-based nonprofit called Read Lead, and we provide summer literacy programs, and we do book giveaways in the community. And so the organization was started as an opportunity to fill the gap where students were not engaged over the summer months. There's a statistic that shows that when students are not engaged in learning, they can lose up to 2 to 3 months of reading achievement. And so our organization helped to change that for many students. After the summer, after a 6-week program, some students were instead of losing the 2 to 3 months of reading levels, that they were gaining 5 to 6 months of reading levels, and they were going back to school ahead of their peers, energized and excited to learn. And so it's a program that we offer for free for parents. And we hire on college-age students to serve as the mentors over the summer months. We provide breakfast and lunch. And so that's really been one of the most exciting things that I think I've done in my lifetime.
And how old are the kids that you serve?
Yeah, so a majority of the students are between 5 to 13.
Awesome.
And then our staff tends to be young people under the age of 30, many of them who are still in college or just getting out of college, who are dynamic individuals who've come back to their hometowns or to their communities to serve.
That's cool. I like that. I like things like that are local, that make an impact, that you can really see grow. How long have you been doing it for?
About 7 years now.
Nice. And has it been a good 7 years? Like, you've seen some growth?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think everything ebbs and flows in life.
For sure, yeah.
You know, and
nonprofits are not easy.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all, you know, but I've been grateful that we've had some really great support from the community to get it up, to get it going. At our height, we had 7 schools running over the summer. And now, you know, we've taken a little bit of a break in our work to just kind of reposition ourselves and to ensure that we can be around for the long haul.
Yeah.
I think sometimes it's super important just to take a step back and to reevaluate where you've come from and make a strong plan around where you're going next.
Right. Speaking of which, maybe what's next is city council, right?
Yeah.
What can you say about this, the election process, just kind of zooming out, like what's been like your, like a plus about the whole experience so far? I know it's not over. We still have, was it Tuesday or Wednesday?
It's
the 3rd.
Tuesday. Yeah, the 3rd.
So one thing that, you know, has been great, like results aside, right? Something that's been great that you're going to take from it. And then something that like, you're like, you know what, this is something that I wasn't, you know, that happy with.
Yeah. You know, I think what I'll take away that has been a really great experience and that I've really enjoyed is being to connect with community members on a deeper level and having conversations around the issues that matter the most. And I'll say some of those conversations have been challenging. I haven't seen eye to eye with some community members, and it's okay. Yeah. I think what I've learned,
though? Is it? I'm just kidding.
No, but it is.
Because I have those conversations all the time.
Yeah.
And it is okay. But
yeah.
But it is, you know, sometimes, especially with local politics, sometimes you're trying to field like something that's outside of the scope of responsibility. And it's like, it's okay, you know, to have the question and see where somebody lands on an issue. But sometimes it's like people don't understand the difference between a partisan office and a nonpartisan office. Yeah. And there's a lot of offices that, you know, where you land on these big ideas can still be important if you think so. But really, it's the nuts and bolts of like what of like local government responsibility.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
And thank you for bringing that up. You know, I think a lot of the conversations are questions that the federal government has to deal with.
Or even state sometimes, but
absolutely.
Bigger government.
Yeah. And so part of, I think, the process of campaigning has also been a process of educating each other, right? Around like, what does city council do? You know, like, yes, I understand that issue is important to you, but as a city council member, that is not part of my jurisdiction of work, if you will. You know, so again, just refocusing around what is important for this particular race and understanding that your opinions, what you believe in is absolutely valuable. But I think the space that we have to continue to work on is listening to each other. And although we may not agree, we can agree to understand and learn something from each other in every single conversation that we have. And so that what has been really exciting, you know, to again just hear firsthand from community members, reconnect on a deeper way with my neighbors. Yeah. And I would say I think along those lines, the thing that has been challenging is that people make assumptions about who you are. and
What are some assumptions people have made about you?
right. I think people have made the assumption that, or not, I think I've seen that people have made the assumption because I'm a progressive, I want to come in and change everything. That's an assumption. Have you had a conversation with me?
I mean that is like what, when people think of progressive, they think of like, progress meaning one thing.
One thing.
Right.
But I don't think it means one thing.
Yeah.
I know it doesn't mean one thing. I think people have made assumptions that I'm a young person, that I don't have experience. But I do. I have a body of experience, both professional and personal, that I can bring to the table that can add value, I believe, to the city council. I think people make assumptions about women all the time. And we know that women are very capable of leading, and that we, again, bring another perspective as it relates to leadership and political leadership at that. So I know that there have been a lot of assumptions, but I want to encourage people to, my phone number is public. Give me a call. I've been meeting with people for coffee and lunch, and I'm available and accessible, so.
So what's interesting is that you talked about like people's assumptions, and you mentioned age and gender, but you didn't mention your race at all.
Yeah, I didn't.
Intentionally?
I think it was intentional.
Yeah.
I think we see my race,
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
But we also see your gender and yet that you're younger.
Yeah.
But you don't think people make assumptions of you because of your race?
I know they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's something that didn't have to be said.
Yeah.
And the reality is, if I were to be elected, I would be the first African American elected to the city council.
That's important.
It is. It is. And I hope people understand that, regardless of race, gender, or my age, that I'm capable and that I can bring a value of resources to the city council.
What are your thoughts on Lakewood as a whole?
I think it's a great community.
Well, yeah, no.
Yeah.
Well, that part, sure.
Understood, yeah.
But I mean, talking about, you've had, the conversations that are tough to have with the constituents. Like, do you feel like there's an overwhelming, or just like a large group of people in Lakewood that are resistant to something new? I'm choosing my words very carefully, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that's the case.
Yeah.
I think it's proven in the city council's current leadership and our history in terms of city council leadership. Many city council members have served for decades. And so I think that's proof that the community is quite comfortable in terms of how the community is being run, and I think it's a good thing. I think leadership has done a great job.
Yeah.
But I think that there is value when you have a diversity of thought leadership at the table. I think we're able to look at the issues that are facing our city, especially the newer issues that we'll face in the next 10 years, the next 20 years, with a set of fresh eyes, a set of eyes and a mind that has been able to look at bodies of studies for communities that are surrounding us and bring those ideals to the table for us to start again with conversation around what's going to work for us moving forward. So I think this is an opportunity for us to do something a little bit different, and to energize our city council and to energize and add more energy to our community as well.
Yeah, I had mentioned it at the meet and greet when I was talking about. I think even looking at like the last election and how like when people were running, they were very passionate, and I feel like the election cycle has the ability to be very annoying and very like it gets crazy sometimes, but it also brings out like passionate people that want to help the community. That being said, I do think like the city council has been run really well, and it is like I know all of them pretty well, and they're all great, but it does say something like when you have an election to have people really participate and put their ideas forward and then test out some old ideas, submit some new ones, and really like the conversation is what matters. And that's why I enjoy doing this, because it's when people in your community start talking about like, well, why do I think that way? Or why wouldn't I support this? Or why do I or why am I voting this way?
Mm-hmm.
Is it because I think that's the way I'm supposed to vote? Is it because that's the way it's always been? Is it because I'm afraid of any change? Like, it's important to bring that stuff to the surface. And again, like, that's why I've thought it was very important, even wearing, my chamber hat, of at least informing the public and letting them make up their own minds.
Yeah.
But it's an important conversation all around. And I think that, like, you and I have had talks. I think you're great. I think you have a lot of really good ideas.
Thank you.
And I'm very curious to see how next week goes. I would say, like, I've definitely seen you out and about doing your thing. Mm-hmm. And I think you've done a really good job.
Appreciate that.
But city elections are just so interesting because you kind of never know.
Yeah, you don't know. And I think, one of the things we're not able to do here in Lakewood is poll,
Mm-hmm.
because we are a smaller demographic, and polling costs a lot of money,
Yeah.
But we do have an opportunity to do something different. And I think this is also to note, this is, I think, the first time that the city council election is aligned with a presidential primary.
Yeah.
And so the voter turnout is going to be higher than it
Way
ever
higher.
has been.
So that's what throws all of like when people go like, oh, well, Lakewood elections usually go like this. Totally different when you're aligned with a presidential primary.
That's right. So we don't know how Tuesday is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
What I can say is that I've worked really hard in terms of getting the word out.
Have you done a lot of mailers?
We haven't.
Okay.
Frankly, mailers cost money.
They cost a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And they waste a lot of paper too.
Yeah.
That part. But they cost a lot of money. And like I've run this campaign in a way where it's a very grassroots campaign, word of mouth. Although I'm a millennial and I believe in tech and digital and we are doing all of that, I think it's all stronger when you are having the conversations. And so over the last month and a half or so, we've hosted 5 events, 5 community meet and greets.
Yeah, I saw you at Taco Mel.
Yeah.
I saw you were at the new sports bar, which just opened up, right?
That's right.
South and Woodruff?
South and Bellflower. South and Bellflower, yes.
Okay, yeah. I haven't been
Lakewood
there.
Rocks.
I haven't been there.
It's really fun.
Is it?
Yeah, it's a great place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check it out. I think it used to be the hobby store or something, right? Or maybe that was next to it.
I think it was Subway.
Okay.
I think that was Subway.
Okay. I was like, really? But hey,
it's actually
cheers.
really cool inside.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out.
It's
My
amazing.
wife went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What they've done inside, it's fantastic.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, and it's a cool spot.
Where were the other ones?
So we've had Taco Mel, Lakewood Rocks, and Collaborative Coffee Bar.
Okay.
And then I've had a few friends host like a house party as well.
Thanks for the invite. Just kidding.
I was like, man,
I just like
didn't I
my go-to.
invite you? I know I invited you last night.
I know. And I do apologize.
It's all good. It's all good. But we'll be back at Collaborative Coffee Bar on Saturday, the 29th from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So just another opportunity for us to have more conversations around the issues that matter most, have some coffee, chill out a little bit, and then we'll go out and canvas and knock on some doors. So yeah.
Conversations that matter.
Yes.
And not did you watch the Democratic debate?
Right.
Stuff like that.
Yeah. We don't start off with that
Yeah,
at all.
That's a terrible way to start a conversation.
Yeah.
Well, this has been awesome. Thank you. We'll have to do it again.
Absolutely.
Good luck on the 3rd.
Thank you.
And what are you doing for the, do you have something planned for the 3rd?
We just started talking about it last night. Mm-hmm. Joe and Debbie Esquivel were like, hey, you have to have an election night watch party. I was like, do I? And so we started the conversation around it. And I'm sure we'll have some information about that coming out in the next few days. Yeah. And I think the best way to, keep in contact is to visit my website, VoteCassandraChase.com. We have an events page there where you can keep up with what we're doing. We're also on social media, on Facebook. It's
what are your handles?
Yeah, it's.
You remember them? You don't remember them,
Well,
do you?
man, they're different. But
You
I
can
think
tell
I'll
me
get
them
them
later.
right.
I'll put them on.
Okay, cool. Let's do that because I don't want to give out the wrong information.
Yeah.
I think the other important piece to note is, we keep talking about March 3rd as the date. We have a different voting opportunity this year where vote centers are open now. They opened last Saturday and they're open through March 3rd. So after I leave here, you or I could go to a vote center and vote today.
Man, you're gonna make me get this video out quick.
Yeah,
I see what you're doing.
Absolutely. So the voting is on now, and I think with this new opportunity to vote over 10 days, it really is eliminating some of the barriers of entry for people to be involved in the decision-making process. And so I understand, folks are working 2 jobs. You have families. It is hard sometimes to get out on a specific day to vote. Well, now we don't have that excuse anymore.
Right.
We have 10 days. We have many hours to do it. And there's quite a few locations here in Lakewood. And then the other piece is that you can go to any vote center in LA County and still vote in your jurisdiction.
That's cool.
So if you work in Los Angeles, you can go to a vote center around the corner from your job.
Doesn't it just make sense though?
It absolutely
really
does.
There's a lot in our voting. It's like we're still in 1910. It's come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
And we are in 2020. We're living in what we call the future, right?
When you watch Back to the Future and you look the date on the thing where they go to the future, it was last year.
It's so wild, right?
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah.
But that makes sense. So it is good, and I really do hope people go out and vote. And again, it's a matter of going out and voting, because then you're a part of the conversation in that way. Mm-hmm. My only gripe is when people don't vote and then they have strong opinions. It's listen, don't say you have strong opinions if you're not even willing to do it. So now it's even easier.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
It's good.
Yeah.
Well, you have to promise that after the 3rd you'll come back and we'll talk.
I will do that, definitely. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.